Good morning and welcome to Kensington Falls Church. My name is Dan Powers. I am the Director of Dining Services, the Executive Chef at the Assisted Living here. And today we're going to talk a little bit about St. Patrick's Day, a little meaning behind it, and our dinner is going to be on shepherd's pie, which is kind of a St. Patrick's Day staple. We all know about corned beef and cabbage and all that cocaine and all the other things, but this is something a little different. So I kind of wanted to do something a little different this time. Typically, St. Patrick's Day was named after St. Patrick of Ireland under the Roman Catholic Church, who actually died in 461 AC or AD, and very well known for his charity and his help with the Catholic Church. So that's kind of where St. Patrick's Day came from. I never really knew that until, for the most part, back when I was younger, in my college days. St. Patrick's Day was kind of a party day. It's back in the day, it was rally in the alley, and they had all kinds of festivities going on in downtown DC. But never really understood the real reason behind St. Patrick's Day and why St. Patrick was ordained to saint under the Catholic Church. But another thing about shepherd's pie, this is very interesting, is that there's really not a whole lot of history on it. In other words, we really don't know where it came from, who made it. It's probably one of the peasant foods, but potato wasn't introduced to Ireland, actually in Ireland by Sir Walter Raleigh in the 1500s, and became a staple really for the peasants of Ireland because that was under British rule at that time. Pretty interesting, and just looking at how this came to be developed, but it's more or less, it's just more the peasants' food is what it was called. Very, very interesting. So that's kind of the background on shepherd's pie. And first off, for our cooking demonstration, we're going to boil some potatoes because this is a pretty interesting situation. So you want to peel our potato, and I actually don't really like using the peelers too much, so I just always use a chef's knife and just shave it very thinly. There we go. And then we're just going to give it a nice cut. All right. Alrighty, there we go. So we're going to boil these. There we are. This is a pretty simple recipe that can be prepared at home in no time. It doesn't take much time at all to develop this recipe and get it actually ready to go and starting. But first we want to bring our potatoes to a boil. And I always use cold water with the potatoes. If you add it to hot water, it kind of shocks it. So I'm going to add the cold water, bring it up to a slight boil. And now we're going to make the filling. Pretty easy to do this, pretty simple process. We have all our ingredients right here, and let me go over the ingredients. We have diced carrots, we have tomato paste, I've got peas, potatoes of course, which are going to go on top. We've got onions, garlic, little salt, little thyme, little rosemary, some chicken stock, olive oil, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and some pepper. Pretty simple stuff for this recipe. It's not a very difficult recipe at home. Like I said, it takes about 15 minutes. I want to show you how easy it is. And what we want to do and we also have our ground lamb here. And let's see here. And first of all, we're going to add our onions. You always want to basically add your onions and your garlic first. The reason being is that they contain sulfuric acid. So once you saute these, they actually turn sweet. So it's always good to caramelize these first before you add your other ingredients. Okay, let's get this nice and hot, ready to go. Okay, there we go. And add a little bit of garlic to it. And the great thing about this is this is a traditional St. Patrick's Day recipe. You go to any Irish bar or any Irish restaurant, you're going to find shepherd's pie on it, cocaine, which is the cabbage soup. Typically, Irish food, it's kind of like the staples. The lamb meat, you have ground lamb that goes in this. Some people, especially in the United States, use beef. I like using the lamb. It has a better flavor to it, and also just a little different. So I want to really saute this up really well. There we go. And I want to let this go until it starts to caramelize, which is definitely what that means. Okay. All right, perfect. Then we want to add, let's see here. We want to add our lamb to it. And we'll add our carrots. There we go. And we're just going to saute this until it gets nice and done. And we're going to drain all the grease off of this. You want to cook it until the actual meat is completely done. In other words, it doesn't have any of the red in it, and then we're going to drain off some of the grease so it's not so greasy. So, like I said, very, very, very simple process here. Takes a couple of minutes. Okay. And while we're doing that, our potatoes are actually boiling, so they're going to be coming out perfectly. There we go. And at the very end, we're going to add the peas once this is all done. So I'm going to take this, drain out some of the fat, little fatty liquid right there. There we go. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of our flour, sachet a little bit in, and sachet means just a little, like kind of a dusting. Right there, perfect. And what we're going to do now is we'll kind of want to cook the flour out. It's basically the same concept as a roux. In other words, a roux is flour and butter, 40-60%, 40% butter, 60% flour. And you cook that to different levels. So you want to cook the flour taste out of the starch. So I'm just going to cook that for a few minutes, get all that starchy taste out, okay? There we go. All right, and then we're going to add our chicken stock. All right. And then we're going to add a little bit of tomato paste. And the tomato paste adds flavor and it also thickens it up. Tomato paste actually thickens products, which is perfect. Stews, tomato sauce, tomato-based sauces. Incorporate that in. There we go. A little bit more chicken stock. Perfect. See, while we're doing this and cooking this down, we'll let this cook for a few minutes to cook the flour out. Then we're going to add some of our herbs to it. A little rosemary, a little bit of thyme. There we go. And a little teeny bit of pepper in there, give it a little heat. And last but not least, we're going to put a little A1, not A1, but it's a little Worcestershire sauce in there, gives it a nice flavor. We're going to cook this down and let this go. So I'm going to turn down the heat, let this cook a little bit, and that way it kind of absorbs all the flavors into it. And while we're waiting for our potatoes, there we go. And the amazing thing about St. Patrick's Day is that it's a fairly big holiday in the United States. Over in Ireland, it's huge, and if you go to some other parts of the United States, especially down in Savannah and areas like that, River Street in Savannah, it's St. Patrick's Day is the biggest holiday of the year. I mean, you can't even walk on River Street. There's so many people there. Pretty amazing scene to see, especially you know, it's night now down south. It's starting to get a little bit warm, so it's really, really cool. But you know, it's a great holiday, and everybody loves corned beef and cabbage. It's kind of one of those things where you have the potatoes, you have the carrots, and you have the cabbage in it. Those are all kind of staples of the Irish diet, as a matter of fact. You know, back with the peasants who used to live in the cottages, supposedly, back in those days. So we'll wait for this to cook down a little bit. I want to make sure I get all the flavors infused. And my potatoes are almost ready. I'm going to let those go for another 5 minutes. And we'll be ready to complete this. Okay, once our potatoes are all cooked, and you can tell the potatoes are cooked by the starch that's in them. They don't look any starchier. We're going to take this. I'm going to drain out our excess liquid that's in here. There we go. Perfect. And then what we want to do is we want to add a little bit of heavy cream that's heated, of course. There we go. Okay, and The main important thing about doing the shepherd's pie, because you want to brown it on top, is you want to actually take an egg yolk. And this is kind of a French classic called potatoes duchesse. So you just want to basically get out the egg whites in it. And once you do that, you just basically put it in your hand and the egg whites seep right on through. Then what we're going to do is we're going to just mix up our potato mixture. There we go. And you can actually do this at home if you have a mixer. It's much easier. But I'm actually doing it just with a whip. I'm just whipping the heck out of it. There we go. And voila. And it's just as easy to use a whip like this, a wire whip. And you see I'm just mixing the potatoes right up. And there we are. So there's my potatoes, mashed potatoes. It's called potatoes duchesse. And pretty easy from that point on. I'm going to take our mixture, pour the mixture right into a heat-proof bowl. Okay. There we go. And fairly simple technique. We just want to take, and you can actually use a pastry bag with this. I'm actually using a spoon because a lot of people don't have pastry bags. You just spoon it on top and just kind of move it around. There we go. Okay, perfect. You just want to get it very smooth on the top. And a little bit more. And then we're going to take this, the mixer's already hot, and we're going to put this into our oven. And actually give this about 15 minutes in here. What will happen is that the mashed potatoes will caramelize on top, and you'll have yourself shepherd's pie. It's that simple. Like I said, you can add corn to it, you can add peas to it, you can add a lot of different varieties, whatever you want. That's the great thing about whatever you want to do with cooking at home. It doesn't have to be a specific recipe. You can add things to it, take things away. It's all your preference, which is very nice. And our end result and our finished result will look like this. And as you can tell, we have the nice brown on the outside. And that's pretty much, it helps with the egg yolk to make it that brown. And what I do is at the very end, I just kind of turn it onto the broiler on here, and it gets that nice brown topping. And then we can basically look at what we have here. And there you go. You have the potato, and then you have the mixture in the bottom. Very simple. Very, very easy recipe to make. You can do this at home. It took me probably 15 minutes to do this. It won't even take you that long once you get used to it. Put it in the oven, walk away, come back in 15 minutes, and it's ready to go. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. I really appreciate that, and I hope you have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. And enjoy. Definitely make some of this at home for St. Patrick's Day and have some green beer. Thank you very much.